Cup 2 podcast coming at you live from the OC Rock Radio Studios at Saddleback College. I'm Nick Nenad.
And I'm Jared Smith.
And we got a great show on tap today, Jared. Even though football's over, it's we still got stuff to talk about. Is this our first podcast not talking about football? In a while.
I don't even want to say it.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's... Yes, there's other things
He's
to talk about besides
football
football.
on his
but I have football on my computer. It's like I can't get away from it. There's oh my gosh, yes. So this will be the first podcast without a main football segment.
Exactly.
But I guarantee somewhere along the lines, maybe in Do You Care, there will be
Possibly.
a couple football questions. So
Possibly.
Don't you worry.
But yes, this podcast will be filled today with basketball news, a little bit of spring training, and the Winter Olympics started and are going off with a bang so far. But we want to start the show talking about something that happened right after our podcast last Wednesday. Unfortunately, we weren't able to really talk about it because we've had a week to think about it. But a lot of big time trades, unexpected things happened during the NBA trade deadline. Was it Thursday or was Wednesday the trade deadline? It was Thursday. Last Thursday. A lot of shuffling, especially with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Lakers got a new player. It's crazy right now. We're not going to get too much into what happened with the trades, but we're kind of going to talk about what has happened since those trades happened and how those players have performed for the teams. So let's start with talking about the Cavs. The Cavs obviously decided to trade away half their team last Thursday in a couple stunning moves. They got rid of Dwayne Wade, Iman Shumpert, Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye. You can fill me in on any others that I forget about, but the Cavaliers essentially traded half their team, literally half their team, to get a couple of younger and faster players in Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., and others. So, Jared, what are your thoughts initially on what the Cavs did and how it's worked so far? Because it's actually worked pretty well.
What the Cavs did was brilliant. They basically traded away a bunch of old veteran players that I'm not going to say aren't good and can't produce, but they're not the type of players that LeBron wants on his team as far as running up and down the court in transition, getting fast break points, playing good solid defense. And so they traded away all these players, and they got back youth, in a sense.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., who's going to be in the dunk contest, can jump out of the gym. Rodney Hood, who is a lengthy version. To me, he's almost like a Lamar Odom. He's got a huge wingspan. He's a great defender. He can knock down the three. Jordan Clarkson is a great spark bench guy coming off the bench. Jordan Clarkson could start for probably half the teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
But because the depth of the Cavaliers and the Lakers team that he was on previously was so good, he's been coming off the bench and kind of being that, sixth man type of guy. So, no, I think what the Cavaliers did with Dan Gilbert and, LeBron James in a sense was nothing short of brilliant. And this pretty much revitalized their season because the way that it was going, honestly, I could have seen the Cavaliers getting bounced out in the second round of the playoffs with the team that they previously had with Dwayne Wade and Isaiah Thomas and Channing Frye and some of those other guys. So bringing in this somewhat of a youth movement and giving this team a little more juice, I think is kind of obviously made LeBron James very happy. And when LeBron is happy, you see the results on the court.
Happy LeBron is a good LeBron.
Happy LeBron, happy life.
Yeah, I guess
something like that. Yeah. So no, obviously it's only been 2 games. So I'm not going to sit here and completely say that the Cavaliers are going to win the championship and they're now the best team since sliced bread. I still think the Warriors are the favorites to win it all. But I think the Cavaliers have positioned themselves in a better way, and I think now they basically control their own destiny. I think they can beat Boston in a 7-game series. They can beat Toronto, to whereas last week with their old squad, we were not confident in saying that at all. So a huge turnaround, and so far in just the 2 games against 2 quality opponents, against the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Cavaliers have looked really, really good.
The Cavaliers needed to make these trades. I didn't think it would be this drastic of changes and trades, but they needed to make these trades if they wanted any chance at competing for finals again. And I personally think I'm going to have to agree with you that with these trades, the Cavaliers, I can now say, are contenders again. And LeBron, like you said, is visibly happy on the sideline. They're 2 wins. You say they're not important and you're not thinking about it too much. They're 2 wins. They're against the Boston Celtics, probably the best team in the Eastern Conference besides Cleveland, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are now playing like their starting lineup looks. And what I mean by that is that the Thunder are one of the best teams in the NBA. So they beat both of those teams pretty handily as well. So I think this Cavaliers team is dangerous. And I don't mean that in the...
I see what you did there. It's pretty good.
They're dangerous. This is a good thing the Cavs did. Getting Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance. These are not just bench guys. I mean, these guys, like you mentioned, could be starting for most NBA lineups, especially Hood and Clarkson. Now, they do give away a first-round pick to the Lakers, but not the Nets pick. So not only, I think you could also talk, when you're talking about these trades, you can talk about the fact that they kept that Nets pick. So not only did they gain 3 young players, but they also kept a very, very good lottery pick, possibly top 10 draft pick as well, to add depth to the roster next year, just in case LeBron leaves, or even if LeBron leaves, they're still going to have that draft pick. So I think this was an absolute win for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They did what they needed to do, and they became contenders again. And if I had to say right now, I would vote the Cavs, even after those 2 games. I'd vote the Cavs as the favorites to get to the finals once again. Man, and I know we're
jumping right on that bandwagon.
We're jumping so far ahead too with that. But it just, you can tell LeBron hated that team he had. He didn't like the Isaiah Thomas stuff didn't work. Guys like Shumpert and Dwayne Wade weren't playing to their full abilities. Kevin Love obviously got hurt. Tristan Thompson wasn't playing like himself. J.R. Smith sucked. Now, J.R. Smith's playing great. All of a sudden, J.R. Smith's playing great. Tristan Thompson's playing great. LeBron James is super happy. He's playing great like always. So this is a dangerous team. And I do personally think that they're going to get to the at least the East Finals. Now, we were even talking about them not possibly getting to the East Finals, but at least to the East Finals and possibly the NBA Finals.
Yeah, they can. Well, another thing about bringing on this youth movement is the fact that LeBron now, he has so much on his shoulders, right? He's not only supposed to be the main scorer, he's supposed to guard the opponent's best player. He's supposed to be the lockdown defender as well. As the season goes on, and for as many minutes that he's put on his body throughout his career, and not even with the postseason included, that's going to take a toll. So I think with having these young players coming in and stepping in, I think it's going to help him more or less in the playoffs, to where he's not going to have to score 40, 45 points a game.
Exactly.
Right? He can focus a little more on the defensive side of the ball, and let these young guys come in and score and kind of balance things out. Because, listen, LeBron James can obviously do what he wants when he wants. If he wants to pull up and shoot a 3, he's going to do that. If he wants to drive to the hole, he's more than likely going to be able to take any opponent to the hole. But if you're a defensive, or if you're the opponent, and take away Jordan Clarkson, take away Larry Nance Jr., take away Rodney Hood, if you have the old team, you're basically saying, all right, we're literally going to stop LeBron and let anyone else score and let anyone else beat us. Now, with this new look roster, there's so many more components and so many other players that can beat you and hurt you that you can't just completely focus on LeBron anymore. So they've kind of spread things out and made it more difficult for opponents to say, all right, who are we going to take away? We're going to take away LeBron? Okay. Then you've got George Hill, Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, all 3-point shooters, all guys that can slash. J.R. Smith seems to be rejuvenated as well. So, and then you say, okay, let's take away those guys. Well, guess what? Now you have LeBron. So it's like, now, who are you going to take away? Pick your poison. So I think, not only did they do a great job in terms of bringing in the young guys, to help kind of spell LeBron, but I think offensively and defensively going deep into the playoffs, I think it's something that you're going to see. Instead of him having to play 40 minutes a game, he's going to be down to 35, 34, 33 minute a game, saving those for when they really need it, that postseason push getting into the finals, right? So I think that's something that maybe not a whole lot of people are looking at as far as later on in the season, but I think it's going to be a big, big factor.
2 more things about this Cavaliers team. We're forgetting to mention that George Hill also coming to this team in a trade. He's actually starting at point guard ahead of Jordan Clarkson as well. So George Hill, I'm very high on George Hill too. I'm surprised he was traded kind of early. I'm surprised he was traded for as much as they got back for him. They didn't get much back for him. I'm talking about the Sacramento Kings. George Hill is a great player. He was a really pivotal player in that Utah Jazz lineup last year. And obviously anybody that plays for the Sacramento Kings sucks a little bit when they go over.
Wow, okay.
Except for DeMarcus Cousins, it's the only one that's worked out. But so that one, that's a big one too. And then Cedi Osman, this power forward they have starting in the lineup, he's playing great too, coming out of nowhere. He's a European player I really hadn't heard of. And now he's playing well for the Cavs too. So this rejuvenated not just LeBron, but this entire team, which is obviously a great thing for the Cavs. Now let's jump to some of the other teams that are affected by this. I think mainly the Los Angeles Lakers, another team that's affected by this. Now, it's not necessarily who they got in the trade or the draft pick they got in the trade, but it's about what this does for the future for the Lakers. And I know, you've been listening to sports radio, you've been watching TV, watching shows like First Take. They've been talking all about this. The Lakers cleared cap space for a potential run at LeBron James or a Paul George or both. Clearing, I think it's like 40-something million cap space. And I personally have a little different feelings about this for Lakers. I think you might agree with me on some points in this, that I did not necessarily think the Lakers should have traded two of their best young players for essentially nothing this year. Now, I get they're going to get a first-round draft pick, but what we're talking about, the Cavs are probably going to be in the finals. They're going to have no better than the 25th, 26th pick in the draft. Okay? So that's not, in the NBA, that kind of draft pick late in the first round doesn't mean much. Now, I get the Lakers have had some good odds drafting guys late. Jordan Clarkson, for example, and Larry Nance Jr., the two guys they traded, were late draft picks. The problem with it, though, is that I personally think if you were the Lakers, it was probably a little more smart to stick with all of your young core, especially since Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson are staying on till at least next year as far as their contracts go. So you would have had them as bench players for whichever star comes or if a star comes next year. And I don't think the first-round draft pick is as valuable as people think, but I just think keeping that core together, and since they've already taken out D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., out of this core already, you're starting to diminish. It's only about three guys now. It's really just Lonzo, who's been injured for a while, and his dad's speaking up, and we'll talk about that later. Brandon Ingram, who actually looks really good, and Kyle Kuzma, who's had a great year too. But that's really it as far as that young core. And it really was nice as a Laker fan myself to have 5 or 6 guys as far as depth goes, like the Boston Celtics. They have a lot of young depth on their team. Lakers don't have as much depth now. And now, if they don't get one of these stars, how good are they really going to be next year? Having these players develop with the team, with each other for years and years on, that's what the Golden State Warriors did with Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. And Jared, who's the best team in the NBA right now?
That'd be the Warriors.
The Golden State Warriors, exactly. So that would be the model I would follow, not the model that a lot of other teams have followed, the Thunder, the Heat. Well, no, the Heat's a bad example. They won championships. But the Cavaliers and countless other teams, they've stacked teams in an effort to try to win a championship. They've all gone to no avail. So I think the way to do it was to stack up your young guys and have them build together. Lakers decided not to do that. I don't necessarily agree with it. But if they do end up getting a star or two, or LeBron or Paul George next year, then I'm wrong. Then this trade works out, and we're all good. I'm fine with that, because the lineup of Kuzma, Ingram, Lonzo, and or LeBron or Paul George, that's a very good lineup, and they win trade. But I would say right now, they lost the trade. What about you?
They lost the trade for this season. You're right. The Cavaliers, on paper, they got better. The Los Angeles Lakers did not get better because, in my opinion, even though Isaiah Thomas is not the Isaiah Thomas of last year when he was with the Celtics, his injury is still bothering him. He even came out and said he's about 75-80% right now. So there is no way that he can be the effective scorer that people want him to be from the Celtics days with the Lakers right now. Listen, from a money standpoint and from the GM standpoint, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, they did what they had to do, right? You're going to give up Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. to try to get a Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I get that. What I would have done if I was the Lakers, I understand giving up Jordan Clarkson because he was making $11.5 million. That's a lot of money, and I believe he still has 2 years left on his contract, like you were saying. Larry Nance Jr. also has 2 years left on his deal. he's only making about $1.5 million.
See, that was the confusing.
That's not a lot of money, and especially in the NBA, there's only 15 guys on your roster. Like LeBron James getting $33 million, George Hill's getting $20 million. So if I was the Lakers, I understand giving up Jordan Clarkson for the money aspect. I would have kept Larry Nance Jr. He's not a guy that I think will be a prime starter throughout his career. I think he's a guy that will, for the most part, come off the bench. But the spark that he can give, the energy, he's a hustle guy. He doesn't have a problem with, not really having the ball in his hands, just getting rebounds, getting kind of alley-oops. That's really his game, is just bringing energy off of the bench. So for the Lakers, I think those are the type of guys that you need, because listen, it's one thing to have stars, to have Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Stephen Curry, all these stars, but you need role players. Like these guys, for as much as the NBA is called an individual sport, it's really not when you look at it. Like the depth is a big factor, and when you go 82 games plus playing in the postseason for another month or so, you need role players that can come in and spell your starters. I don't care if you're Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan; those guys didn't play 48 minutes for their entire careers.
No,
so you need role players, and I think the Lakers could have probably kept Larry Nance Jr. because especially he was only making $1.5 million, and I think that would have kind of helped their bench going along forward. Now you have Julius Randle, who is a starter for them, but really he's not the first round pick that the Lakers thought he was going to be, so he could come off the bench. But I think the Lakers, for this season and for player talent-wise, I think they set themselves back. Money-wise and salary cap-wise, they definitely put themselves in a better position to get a superstar this offseason and or next offseason. My actual opinion, I don't think they're going to get LeBron James. I don't think
so either.
I think the best star that they can get this offseason is Paul George, and there's a lot of reports out right now that he's building a better rapport with the Thunder, and that he actually could stay and re-up with that team and stay there for 4 or 5 years. So I think what the Lakers are really trying to do right now is hold off for that 2019 offseason when Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson and Jimmy Butler and all those A-list stars are going to be free agents. And then, so I think it's going to be 2 years instead of this offseason when the Lakers get their big star.
Makes a lot more sense. And you mentioned that Paul George might be signing with the Thunder. I would see that happening more than the Lakers. I mean, why would he want to come to the Lakers and play with a bunch of rookies? And I even said this, too. If you even add both of them, Paul George and LeBron James, that's still not better than the Warriors or the Rockets. That's still not a team in the West that is just, we're going to say, okay, they're going to the finals. LeBron James needs to stay in the East if he wants to be in the finals. Unless he joins the Rockets or the Golden State Warriors, he's not going to the finals with any other Western team.
No, but now if they do that, though, they're putting themselves in competition. Listen, I love LeBron James. I think as a player, he's fantastic. He's smart. He's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. I'm getting tired and I'm getting fed up of the whole superstar tandem. Like, I would be okay if LeBron said, hey, you know what? I played my whole career in the East, which is, without a question, the lesser of the two. I'm going to go over to the West and really compete. And I'm not saying that he hasn't obviously worked for those championships that he's won with Cleveland and with Miami. But to be able to say, you know what, I did it in the West, which is the toughest conference in the NBA, I think that's saying a lot more. It's saying it's showing that you're a true competitor. Like, of course, everyone wants to win, but if it's just a cakewalk, like, that's not fun to me. Like, I want to go up against the best. If you're LeBron, you are the best. Like, wouldn't you want to go up against the Spurs and Greg Popovich and the Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul, and then the Timberwolves with their young lineup? And I would want to go up against the best. To say that you were able to beat the best, that's when I think you can really say you're a champion. To sit here in the Eastern Conference and basically just walk your way through like you're the New England Patriots every year and just walk into the playoffs. It's a
great example.
No, I'm sorry. Like that's not fun. Like that to me, that doesn't earn respect. That's not how you get real respect. True. So I think for LeBron, if he really wants to kind of change a little bit of his legacy, because there are a lot of people out there that maybe don't respect him in that regard because he chooses to stay in the East and he doesn't want that full competition. He wants guys to come to him. Listen, you can sit here and say that Dan Gilbert and Tyronn Lue were the main contributors in bringing in this youth movement with Jordan Clarkson and all those young guys, that was LeBron James. LeBron James owns this team. LeBron James will do whatever he wants. Dan Gilbert will step down and give LeBron James the throne to keep him there, okay? So this is all on LeBron. LeBron can do whatever he wants. If he wants to leave, he can leave, and I think that's what he should do. Now, I'm not saying he necessarily needs to go to the Lakers, but I think he needs to go to a team in the West where he's going to have to work harder to get that championship. I think he will earn more respect from people, and I think at the end of the day when he retires in 20, 30 years from now, I think a lot more people are going to have a better sense of what he was really about and a better respect for his overall game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And LeBron should go in the West, even though the NBA now, a lot of the players have to buddy with each other and for some reason join forces. And that's great, but you talk about respect in winning a championship. If you remember, back when the Warriors won their first championship, people were saying, well, you guys kind of skated through because no point guards played against Steph Curry. If you can remember, Kyrie Irving didn't play in the finals.
Right.
Patrick Beverley didn't play against them in the Western Conference Finals. The only real point guard that was healthy was Chris Paul, and they screwed up and lost to the Rockets in the series before. Drew Holiday didn't play against them in the first round. Not that the Pelicans would have beat them, but it was a tougher. It would tax Stephen Curry at that point. They didn't have Kevin Durant, so all they really had with shooting besides Steph was Klay Thompson. If you took away Steph, and a lot of the point guards in those series were gone, so people kind of were like, why don't we know if the Warriors were legitimate champions? And then they obviously lost to the Cavaliers, and there was more. So that respect thing does matter, and I can't necessarily say that LeBron has been a true champion in the NBA yet because he hasn't been through the West like so many other NBA stars. It was different back in the 90s with Michael Jordan. The East was just as good as the West. It was a pretty even playing field as far as the two leagues. But right now, it's not. And I agree with you. I think LeBron does need to go somewhere. But I don't think he's going to Lakers because why would he? Why would he want to go join a team with a bunch of 22-year-olds that aren't going to win a championship for him yet?
Oh, I'm not going to say they're not. That's a youth. I mean, if he wants to get young, if he wants to run up and down all day, I mean, listen, you got Lonzo Ball, you got Hart, you got Kuzma, Ingram. I mean, listen. Those guys are going to get up and down. Like, this isn't going to be a slow-paced, half court.
No, it's not.
Like, so if LeBron wants a youth movement, what better place to go than there?
But who says he wants a youth movement though?
I mean, I think so. By this time, Brandon Ingram will be in his third year, so you can't call him a rookie. No. Listen, Lonzo Ball and Kuzma are going to be in their second. Yeah, they are young, but listen, those guys are hungry. They want a championship. Now, I'm not saying guys who have won championships aren't hungry anymore, but these guys haven't won, period. They have a lot to prove. And they're playing for the Lakers, okay? They're not sitting here playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, these guys are in the spotlight all day, every day, whether they win 60 games a year or whether they win 10 games. Like, these guys are getting scrutinized in the spotlight all the time. LeBron already has 2 houses in LA, right? Yeah. LeBron is smart. He's also thinking about his career after basketball. And if he wants to go into acting or Hollywood or anything like that, what better place to do it than to already be in LA? So I don't know. I think it's kind of the perfect marriage for him to go to LA. Now, I'm not saying that there's other teams that aren't going to want him. The Timberwolves, obviously the Warriors, that's been reported already. But for LeBron, why not come to LA with the Lakers and finish off your career in the purple and gold?
It's an interesting topic that's been talked about in the NBA literally the entire season. We will definitely talk about this more. We need to go to break, though. We're out of time for the segment.
Quickly, Nick. It's Valentine's Day today.
Is it Valentine's
Did you know that?
Day? I did know, yeah.
You did? Yeah. Do you have a special Valentine?
I do not have a special
Valentine. No?
I'm going
Nick.
Solo. I'm just going to go out to dinner by myself. And I'm
really?
Gonna treat myself. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Hey, I'll go with you. My Valentine is actually in Africa right now. So
in Africa.
She is. I want to give a shout out to Christina Lux.
There you go.
She's in Africa right now. I'm actually going to visit her in a month. I'm going to Africa. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I'm going to Africa
I didn't know
in a
that.
month. That's right. So
that's crazy.
We got a couple more shows. Then you're always going to be gone for a week.
You're going to come live from Africa, right?
I might. If we can get it set up, I'm going to come live from Africa. But shout out to Christina Lux. Happy Valentine's Day. Miss you. Can't wait to see you. I'm going to spend the day with Nick since he doesn't have anyone.
There you go.
So he will be my guy for the day.
It's very nice of Jared to do.
It is. You're welcome.
We're gonna go to break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Winter Olympics. The Olympics are going on. A couple gold medals so far for the U.S., and we'll talk about the stars of the Olympics. On the other side of the break, this is Cover 2 Podcast on OC Rock Radio.
Puck comes up the boards with a minute 40 remaining. Gregorich through traffic, score! Bergeron ties it with a minute 37 remaining. Simple wrist shot through traffic. Horvath with the puck. Here's T-Char. Across for Bergeron, he scores! Second of the game, Slovenia defeats the United States in overtime 3-2.
Sean White for the goal. 1440, he needs the back-to-backs to take down Ayumu, and gets it! The second 1440. Double McTwist, 1260. Sean White, one more hit. Will it be enough? Frontside 12, perfect. That is the run that he needed, and he put it down.
And what are you going to do with it once you get your hands on that gold medal?
Yeah, look at it for quite some time. I don't know. Going into this, I mean, I always grew up just watching X Games, Dew Tour, and U.S. Open and all that. So to, finally be here and realize all this and the huge stadiums and all the people watching and all that, I think I'm starting to get how big the Olympics is.
We're back here on OC Rock Radio. This is the Cover 2 podcast. Once again, I'm Nick Nenad.
And I'm Jared Smith.
And we're going to talk about the Winter Olympics, Jared, because this is a pretty big sporting event that a lot of people follow from around the world. So I decided to talk about it here on the podcast. So far, the U.S., we're recording this podcast on Wednesday for any of you listening on YouTube. So far, the U.S. has 4 gold medals and 7 total, I believe. Jared, we were just looking it up there. We're about 5th in the medal count right now.
We're 5th right now.
So before gold medals, that's pretty good. The 4 gold medalists, Chloe Kim, Shaun White, Red Gerard, and Jamie Anderson. 3 of those coming in snowboarding, 1 Jamie Anderson in skiing. We obviously expect to have some more gold medals. But so far, these couple of champions right here, most of them were actually kind of expected. Chloe Kim was expected to do well, even though she's only 17. Shaun White expected to do well after what happened last Olympics. And then Jamie Anderson was the favorite in her event. But the one surprise so far has been Red Gerard, another 17-year-old kid who ended up winning one of the snowboarding events. And Jared, it's crazy because of how young some of these competitors are. I didn't realize that a lot of our snowboarders are literally like teenagers.
Yeah.
It's insane. And even there's 2 other girls that they are doing the snowboarding that were 17 years old. One of them actually from San Clemente, California, about 10 minutes away from our studio. But it's crazy that everyone always talks. I thought it's funny because everyone always talks about they work their whole life for this, but I don't necessarily know if these 17-year-olds are working their whole life to get here. I think they're kind of starting out.
They are starting out, but listen, I guarantee you they've put the work in for the last couple of years. This isn't the Olympics. It's very interesting because when the Olympics are on, obviously, it doesn't matter what country you're from. Like, you're going to watch the Olympics, right? But I don't think a lot of people understand and or appreciate the type of work that these athletes do behind the scenes, because it's not like
Absolutely.
The National Football League or the NBA or Major League Baseball, to where those guys, those athletes, they're kind of like celebrities now, and they're in the spotlight 24/7, even in the off season. And because obviously the Olympics only happens once every 4 years, these Olympic athletes don't necessarily get the credit or the spotlight that one would think they deserve. A lot of the guys, they're in the dark and they're putting in the work, but it's all kind of behind the scenes. So you don't see these guys, or you don't hear too much about them until the Olympics come up. And obviously it's a fantastic opportunity for these young athletes to come out, and it's just going to show. Listen, if we have kids, young guys that are 17 right now, that in 4 years, in the next couple Olympics, we're gonna continue to dominate, at least with snowboarding, because so far all 4 of our golds are in snowboarding. So obviously,
the other one was in snowboarding too.
Yeah, all 4
that's amazing.
are
all 4
in
of the
snowboarding.
Events.
So
that's
this is obviously an event that we are very, very good at, and will continue to be good at. Obviously, Shaun White is. He's no spring chicken. He's not 17 anymore.
Close to being done. Yeah.
Right, he's close to being done. But Jamie Anderson, Chloe Kim, they have a bright future ahead of them. But I just wanted to point out that it's very interesting, that after the Olympics are over, it's kind of like, they're still in the spotlight for a little while, and everyone praises them when they come home and that type of thing. But then they kind of just fade off a little bit. And I think that's something that I think it's partly the media's fault because obviously the media is going to talk about stories and things that are relevant and people that are in the spotlight, but it's also on them, I think, to continue to praise these athletes, praise these Olympians who are putting in the work behind the scenes and basically giving up their lives to do this, because it's not like these guys just go to work a couple days a week and practice and go on the slopes and these guys, it's like literally every single day.
No,
when you're representing your country, obviously I don't know what that's like, but if I were representing our country in the Olympics, it would the pressure that is on you to do that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of these Olympian athletes, and I think we need to give them more credit than they deserve, because like I said, I don't think a lot of people really understand the work that they put in behind the scenes.
No, that's 100% correct, and they should get more press, but it's understandable why they don't, because they like you said, once these Olympics are over, this is a 2-3 week period where they are the stars. All the commercials on NBC are Olympians. You see Lindsey Vonn, you see Michaela Schifrin, you see Shaun White and all these commercials, Chloe Kim, all these people in these commercials that were pre-recorded for the Olympics too. It's not like they're doing these, MasterCard commercials the next day after they win these things. These are pre-recorded commercials, obviously, that are being played during the Olympics. But after this, how many of those commercials are we actually going to see? How about this, Jared? Off the top of your head, which Olympians can you actually name? And try not to name any winter Olympians, but just name some Olympians off the top of your head that you just think of right away.
You think of Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps, yeah.
Right? He's kind of number one. You think of Ali, the gymnast.
Most of the gymnasts. I was actually going to say that. Almost all of them.
I think a lot of the female gymnasts would probably.
Some of that might be because of what just happened with Larry Nassar, but as far as them being in the headlines, but they are still in the mainstream, because I think gymnastics still gets a little bit of coverage as well. But yeah, and after that, can you name many?
Like immediately off the top of my head?
Yeah.
Not really. And that's very sad.
Exactly. But how many NFL players or NBA players can you name right now?
All of them.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
which is very sad as well.
I could name the entire Los Angeles Dodgers roster if I wanted right now, but I can't name 10 Olympians from the Summer Olympics on the top of my head. But it makes sense, because they essentially are 2 years completely out of the spotlight. Usain Bolt's another one. That's another pretty famous one. But so they're 2 years out of the spotlight, and they don't get appreciated as much. They get appreciated as much as we possibly can for these 2-3 weeks and maybe a couple weeks before and after the events. But yeah, no, it's good that you're shouting them out, obviously, because they deserve the credit. And you look at all these people, and they look fantastic, and they all do well. And a lot, especially the USA, tends to do very well, and they don't disappoint as much. Now, Jared, so since the Winter Olympics are going on, I haven't actually paid attention to the Winter Olympics as much as the Summer Olympics in the recent past. I'm trying to pay attention as much as I can this Olympics for the winter. But what are some of your favorite events to watch during the Olympic coverage?
And I'm not saying this just because we've won 4 gold medals, but I really do like seeing the snowboarding. Watching Shaun White on the half pipe.
It's fun to win.
I think it's amazing, because I've only gone snowboarding twice in my life. I suck.
Yeah.
I'm horrible. I'm not good. And the fact that these guys can go on this half pipe and do these tricks, and for Shaun White, the trick that he did, that won gold, he did that right. He did that. He did that same. There was one trick that he did, I believe it was last year, and he ended up falling and getting like 60 stitches in his face. And a year later, he comes back, does that same trick, and it helps him win gold. So I think it's pretty amazing the resiliency that he has to be able to come back and do that. I would say snowboarding is probably one of my favorites to watch. Bobsledding, it's obviously not very popular, but it's just really interesting.
Damn fun to watch.
It's really, really fun to watch. It's like, I don't know really anything about it, but I think that's what makes it so interesting to me, is like to see these guys work as a team. So I would probably say snowboarding first, and then bobsledding. Not even a real reason why. It's just a random sport that obviously, unless you're watching the Olympics, this isn't going to be on ESPN. This isn't going to be something that's really talked about at all. So snowboarding, obviously big time. Bobsledding, second.
I'll tell you what I don't like watching first before I get to what I like watching. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I think I forget the name now. I think curling's kind of stupid, to be honest.
Really?
I think it's like shuffleboard. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. Like if I could play it, I tend to not like it as a sport as much. Like if I could play at that level, like I feel like if I just maneuvered that stupid rock in the right direction, I would probably get. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to be as good as Olympians, but I would get pretty close to putting those things and hitting the other ones off, all that stuff. There's so much coverage of it. It's annoying. I may have just been burned out on it, to be honest, but I think it's more of a game. I don't think there's much athletic ability that is needed for that sport.
Those guys that have to sit there and scrape and that's tough, man. That's a forearm workout.
Agree. But when you compare that to like say the snowboarding half pipe or just any regular hockey game or like downhill skiing, you're like, I don't know about this sport. That's at least what I do. Another
one that I forgot about: ski jumping.
Ski jumping.
That's nuts.
Specifically, what is the ski jumping now? Is that the one where they go and they spread their legs?
Right. Yeah, and then they fly in the air. That to me, like how guys. Crazy. I mean, I know they do fall, obviously, but like how you land. Oh my god! Like how can you even land that? There's no way. There's no way.
I see it's getting to you a little bit.
A lot of props. A little bit. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
No, it is amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I like? This is one I like though. I just mentioned this a second ago. Downhill skiing. When the skiers are just going as fast as they possibly can, when you add the element of danger and when they fall, oh man, that is a fun one to watch. Now, I don't like watching the guys go through fences and, injure themselves and break their arms and stuff like that. But when they're going like 80 miles an hour down these hills, and specifically when you look from that camera from behind when you're at the top of the mountain, and you look at how they're going down at an angle, I think I'd crap my pants if I saw that, if I was skiing that fast, and I don't know what I would do.
No thanks.
So I don't understand how these guys go so freaking fast down these hills and don't fall more often, to be honest. So a lot of credit to them. That's one of my favorites. Obviously, I like watching the hockey, even though the NHL is not in the Winter Olympics this year. The hockey, I've watched a couple of even the women's games. They've been fun to watch. Hockey, I like watching hockey anyways. So that might be a little biased.
Can you break down a little bit why the NHL is not in the Olympics? Because I've heard rumors but I don't necessarily understand the full reason as to why.
Yeah, I can't give you a total like explanation that's 100% correct necessarily, but I'll give you as much as I know. I think it just has to do with the fact that the Olympic Committee would not negotiate with them much as far as how to fix the season. Was essentially when the NHL had to go to the Olympics, they had to take like a 2-3 week break, and I don't think NBC liked that, or NBC Sports Network liked that as much, not showing any NHL games, and I think that obviously there was some money involved too, but I just think the risk of getting guys hurt, as well as the Olympic Committee not cooperating with the NHL much, ended up with the NHL kind of souring on the relationship, and now they don't even talk. Like the NHL and the IOC don't talk much. So I think it has to do with a lot of different factors. I can't give you a full reason, but I know it did have to do a little bit with the scheduling and the way that the way they did that, and obviously there was some money and people weren't getting paid and stuff like that. So but the hockey's still good. There's actually a couple of interesting things about the hockey this year is that for like the Russian team, there's guys that are necessarily banned from the NHL that are playing for the Russian team in the Olympics. One of the main examples, and I know a lot about this guy, is a guy named Slava Voinov, who played with the Kings. He won the 2 Stanley Cups with the LA Kings back in 2012 and 2014. And then he was caught on a domestic violence charge after being violent toward his wife in their own home. And he was actually deported back to Russia. But he's playing for the Russian team, or whatever they call the Russian team in the Olympics, because they were obviously the Russia is not allowed to compete in the Olympics this year because of their doping, their steroids. So the Russian team, I say that with air quotes, is playing under like the Olympic banner. But so Slava Voinov's actually playing over in Russia right now. So if you haven't seen him play in a while, if you're a Kings fan or anything like that, you could see him play. Obviously, he's indefinitely suspended from the NHL, and he's not really allowed to come back to the U.S. yet because of being deported and what he did. But it is interesting to go watch some of the guys you haven't seen in a while as well. There's other guys like Ilya Kovalchuk and Pavel Datsyuk. I'm not 100% sure if they're actually playing the Olympics, but those are some stars from the NHL.
Datsyuk for
past. Sure. Yeah, exactly. And so they might be playing in the Olympics. The U.S. team has a couple former NHL players. They're actually trying to make NHL teams as well, and a couple good young college players. But the hockey's still good.
Do we even have a chance? Does U.S. even have a chance in the hockey?
I'm not sure. And they lost today, Wednesday, to, was it Slovenia or Slovakia?
Upset.
Yeah. I watched it early this morning, at least the third period, and they blew it. In the third period, they were up by 1. And Slovenia scored a goal with about a minute left and then scored really early in overtime. So, disappointing USA. But, yeah, I don't know if they have a chance for gold, but they do have a chance to medal. Because you got to think that Canada and Russia's teams are going to be good. Like I say, Russia is pretty much, they can really pick off whoever they want besides guys that are in the NHL. And they have their own league. And personally, I think the best league of hockey besides the NHL is the KHL over in Russia. So they probably had the best roster. Canada probably has enough guys to have a formidable roster, but the NHL isn't a slouch. Let's just say that. The USA team is not a slouch in hockey, but the hockey's still good. And you know what else I like too? I actually do. I like the luge a little bit. That's interesting to watch. And the U.S. actually did well. They got a silver medal, surprising silver medal, but.
Luge.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And I actually saw guys doing double luge today, where they lay on top of each other.
Yeah.
Really crazy how they both stay on that board at the same time.
I saw that the German team, they're called the Tobies. Both their names are Tobias, and they won. I believe this isn't the first time that these guys have won doubles. So the Germans seem to have the upper hand.
Are they leading the medal count too?
Yes, they are. They're leading.
What is the medal count right now as far as the standings? This is but Wednesday, by the way.
Is leading with 12. The Netherlands is right behind with 11. Norway also has 11, and then U.S. I believe is 4th or 5th. I
think they're 5th.
Right, with 7. And who's number? Canada. Canada's number 4. Yeah. So we're holding strong at number 5. We've got Japan right underneath us. Also, actually, they also have 7, but Japan has 0 gold medals. They have 4 silvers. So I think that's why we're technically, in a sense, ahead of them, because we do have 4 golds. So it's not. I mean, it looks like Germany is at least pulling away from the U.S. in a sense, but the Netherlands and Norway are right there with them as well. So it's going to take a little bit. I don't see the U.S. creeping into the top 3.
Interesting.
As far as total medals.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
Yeah, I think that'd be a little difficult. It seems right now that Germany's got the upper hand.
Yeah, no, but I don't think the Winter Olympics is necessarily the USA's time.
Strong suit.
Yeah, it's... We have a lot of sports, like we dominate snowboarding, and we're pretty good at skiing in some elements. Some elements we literally can never win, like the cross-country stuff. We can never win that. And that's where Germany and Norway and the Netherlands get a lot of their medals, too, from those more endurance races that the U.S. doesn't win. But it just, as far as, like, skiing goes with the I don't know any of the names of the skiing competitions, so I'm trying to say all these names. I can't think of them in my head. But... the U.S. kind of tends to be good at specific things, and then they're not good at other things. It's not like they're good at everything. It's more of a over and under with their things.
So what you're saying is you can't wait for the Summer Olympics?
No, I'm not saying I can't wait. I actually am enjoying the Winter Olympics so far. But what I can't wait for is when they come to L.A. in 2028. Now, that's 10 years from now. But we can always hope,
Hopefully we still have this podcast going.
That's a good point. Yeah, we should. And then we'll be there doing it live from the Olympics.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, we're starting good by doing it live from Africa in a month.
We are.
Right?
We're going to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No way it's not happening. Through Viber or however we're going to be able to do it. One other thing I wanted to mention was, we should probably talk about this a little bit, the Korean team. The whole North Korean, South Korean teams joining together, at least for the hockey team, Jared, your thoughts on that initially, and what that has kind of been as far as the news story in the Olympics so far?
I think that has been the biggest story. Yeah. Obviously, not taking away the actual sports aspect of it, right? This is
more than sports.
This is more than sports, and this is national news, and I personally did not think that this would happen.
Nope.
Hearing reports kind of basically right before the Olympics started that North and South Korea would, in a sense, come together was kind of shocking. And I thought it was like false news at first. And then I kept reading it from multiple different sources and multiple different news outlets. And I was very, very shocked. But I think it's showing unity in a sense that the Olympics is very, very powerful. And like I said, taking the actual sports aspect out of it, when you look at it, it's about bringing people together and bringing countries together. And yes, obviously, every country wants to win gold and every country wants to medal and be at the top of the medals list. But in the end, it's about bringing people together, bringing people from different backgrounds together, and being able to learn from one another. And I think that's a big aspect. So I was very, very surprised. And even when I did hear that North and South Korea would come together, I was still skeptical. I was still like, all right, until I see it,
exactly,
I'm not going to believe it. So very, very interesting. I think very, very powerful and what the Olympics can do and how it brings people together.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. They have a hockey team that's made up of North Korean and South Korean players. Unfortunately, they stink. They're not that good. I think they've scored 1 goal in 2 games, and they've given up like 14 or something like that.
Not surprising.
Yeah, but it's a statement. It's more of a statement thing, and that's okay to have a team that's not as competitive. People can argue, but the bigger outline of this is that North Korea and South Korea, for now, and I'll say that, for now, are being friendly and getting along. But it definitely is a big thing. It is cool to see, especially since the Olympics are in South Korea. That's probably the reason this happened. That there is some unity between those two countries, because those two countries do not like each other and have not liked each other for a long time. And obviously, with the regime over in North Korea, you're going to have these. It's always interesting to see nice things come out of North Korea. So, but that's it for the Olympics for us. We'll probably talk about a little bit this next week. We'll have some more sports, because the sports are going to kind of start to switch, and we're going to have new sports start for the Winter Olympics, like the bobsled, like you mentioned. The skiing is going to get more going. The skiing's been delayed by wind and stuff like that, so we'll be talking about that and much other stuff and the results of the hockey and all that. So we'll probably talk about that next week. Jared, do you know what we're going to be doing next after the break?
I do know, but I know you're so excited I'm going to let you say it
first. We're going to be doing our favorite game, Do You Care, on the other side of this break. So don't go away. We might have some football news in there. For all you football fans listening, we might actually have some football talk on that. And I know Jared will extend that as long as he possibly can.
Damn right.
We'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast.
What a year it has been for Jimmy G. Congratulations, Jimmy. What have these last 24 hours been like for you?
It's been wild, honestly. It's I was in the snowstorm in Chicago. I flew out here. I'm in 75-degree weather, so that's a good start. And then getting the contract signed on top of that is it's been a phenomenal weekend so far.
Baseball is not too far off. The Cubs pitchers and catchers reported to spring training in Arizona today. Joe Maddon says he's still tinkering with his slogan for the season, but at the Cubs convention, he said he wants, quote, energy and enthusiasm from his guys. Well, how about adding excitement with the addition of the sought-after free agent pitcher Yu Darvish?
Gentlemen, how about the fact that Seattle appears to be readying itself to try to get into the National Hockey League? Cool news.
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. It's going to even out the East and the West. It'll put both sides at 16 teams, even playing field on both. I think it's fantastic. With Vegas coming in, you've got that 31st team. I think it's great. I think it was expected that there would be a 32nd team. It was just a matter, a lot of talk had been possibly Houston. Seattle had always been there, but if the facility is going to be prepared and going to be built and renovated that they can suit National Hockey League games, fantastic. I think it's great.
Cover 2 podcast back on OC Rock Radio for our middle segment of the show, and everyone knows what this is. I'm going to let Nick once again announce this.
Everyone
because
knows
he's
this
so
segment is called Do you care?
And yes, as Nick was teasing earlier, we will have some football.
We're going to have some football.
I made
on the
damn
podcast.
sure that we were going to
Jared
have some football.
Said he'd whoop my ass if I didn't put football in the podcast. So
I didn't say that.
No, that's not true. I lied. I made that up.
I probably would have if we didn't have any. But luckily we do, so Nick
He would have done it without threatening me. I just knew it.
Right, yeah. So let's jump right into it. Nick, I'm going to ask you the first question today since you asked me last week.
Okay.
Do you care that Seattle is potentially getting an expansion team?
Yes. And you talk about the NHL.
Yes.
The Seattle franchise is filed an application to get a 32nd franchise in the NHL. The NHL has 31 right now after the addition of Las Vegas last year, so it only made sense that there eventually would be a 32nd team. Seattle makes the most sense. The fans will probably be great up there. They're doing renovations to the Key Arena up there, the arena that the Supersonics used to play in. And Seattle's dying for a third sport. It's a good sports city. The Seahawks have great fans. The Mariners have great fans when they actually can make the playoffs, which hasn't happened since 2001. And I'm sure, and obviously the Seattle Sounders, the MLS team, has a very, very good fan base. So you add an NHL team in there, a Northwest City, you create a rivalry with Vancouver as well. I think that will be great, all and dandy for Seattle. I'm happy to see it. Anytime you can add another team in any sport is always an interesting thing to see. Jared, do you care that Ray Allen did not attend Paul Pierce's jersey retirement?
I don't care, but I think there's a lot of people that do care. I don't. One, because I'm just not a Boston Celtics fan, and I just personally didn't really have too much interest in this. But from Ray Allen's perspective, I mean, he won a championship with the Celtics. It was the three-headed monster. It was Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. Like, those guys all. Obviously, Paul Pierce was already with the Celtics, but KG and Ray Allen came on, to join Paul Pierce. So that was kind of like their clique. It was very interesting why he wasn't there. I haven't really heard why. I hope it was important, because I know for Paul Pierce this was obviously a very special night, getting your number retired by the Celtics. That's a big deal, the Celtics and their franchise history and what they've done for the NBA and the amount of championships that they've won. So I was very, very surprised that he was not there. Obviously, Doc Rivers was there. Kevin Garnett was there. I'm sure there was a lot of other former players, but they did specifically put the cameras on those two guys. So it was interesting. I don't know if there's anything going on, or maybe, who knows, Ray Allen maybe was having a baby, or maybe he was on vacation or something like that. But you would have thought that for the success that they had and the core group and the bond that they supposedly had, you would have expected Ray Allen to be there. He wasn't, but obviously it did not ruin the night for Paul Pierce, because he still ended up having a great night. So congratulations to Paul Pierce. Nick, do you care that Darvish has signed a contract, a big one? It was $126 million?
For 6 years.
For 6 years, with, of course, the Chicago Cubbies.
Yeah, I do care for multiple reasons about this one. And if you know me, and you know me personally, I am not a big fan of Mr. Yu Darvish. And that is mainly because of two things he's done in his life. One, didn't get out of the second inning in Game 2, or actually Game 3 of the World Series. And two, didn't get out of the second inning again in Game 7 of the World Series, being one of the major reasons that my Los Angeles Dodgers did not win a World Series back in late October and early November. So I'm not happy that you're going to Chicago.
Oh, I thought you were saying you as in me.
No.
You as in Yu Darvish.
Like that rush hour scene.
Okay, got it, yeah.
No, but I am not happy for you going to Chicago, because I wish nothing but the worst for you.
Oh my gosh.
For screwing the Dodgers over. And I am so glad, although Reddit did not agree with me this weekend, that Yu Darvish did not sign with the Dodgers, because two reasons. One, I don't want to cheer for this guy next year, okay? I don't believe he has the playoff prowess, and I get, okay, I might be a little bit, biased because he screwed me over in Game 7. Yeah, I am, because I don't want a pitcher that literally could not get out of the second inning once in any of the World Series games, and the rest of the pitchers, besides Kershaw in Game 5, I believe, were pretty good. And that Game 5 was insane. Nobody pitched well in that game for either team. So he was the one guy that kind of screwed everything up. But it more a semantics reason. Darvish signing him at 31 years old for 6 more years, you're only going to get like one and a half years of his prime left. And the rest of that contract is going to be big. And the way the Los Angeles Dodgers have structured their contracts this year, they do not want to go over that luxury tax. So signing Yu Darvish would put them right at the cusp of that luxury tax. They would have had to trade someone with a bigger contract, which would have meant a good player, or Matt Kemp. And it would have just meant that you had a lockdown contract of a guy that you weren't sure about for the next 6 years. I don't see why that makes logistic sense, and it doesn't make sense for what he did to us fans in the World Series not playing well. So yes, very passionate about this topic, Jared, as you can tell. But I am happy, and I do care that Yu Darvish is going to the Cubs, because I did not want him on the Dodgers. Okay? And Reddit, you guys can get over yourselves. Okay? Not just downvote my Yu Darvish stuff on Reddit. It's ridiculous. Okay? Jared, do you care that spring training has officially started?
Yes, I do, and I believe it's just pitchers and catchers that are reporting, right?
Yeah, you know what's funny? A lot more players are actually reporting earlier, and I think the season starts a week earlier too, so a lot of players are already there too.
Okay, right. But yeah, obviously, listen, it's football is over. Right now, we are mid-basketball with college and the professionals. We've got the Olympics going on, and the long Major League Baseball season officially starts today. Obviously, every team will report in some aspects, and like you mentioned, more players are showing up. But it's obviously, listen, this time of year, even if your team isn't going to be good, it's like everyone's got hopes. Everyone's got dreams of, hey, you know what? Maybe we can be good. Maybe we can kind of skate by through midway through the year, and then pick up a big player in free agents, or during the trade deadline. And who knows? You never know. So it's always that anticipation of, oh man, you know what? Maybe on paper we don't look too good, but you never know what can happen, right? That's why they play the game. So always interesting. Obviously for the Angels, bringing in the splash player in Ohtani, Mike Scioscia came out yesterday and said that Ohtani will, for the most part, be used as a pitcher, at least in the beginning, saying that he thinks they will be able to utilize him best with his pitching, and he will be able to bring more to the Angels organization as a pitcher. But he did say that Ohtani will get opportunities to hit as well. So not as much as pitching, but you will be able to see both aspects of his game. But just in general, fun time of year. I went to spring training last year in Arizona. It was a blast.
I did as well.
Went to two games, and then we were able to kind of go out and see some players out in the town at night. So it's a great time whether you go to Arizona or Florida. I highly, highly recommend that you go. The tickets are cheap. It's a fun atmosphere. It's a great time. So yes, I do care, and I am excited that spring training has officially started. Nick, do you care that Frank Reich is the new and signed head coach of the Indianapolis Colts?
It's key that you put signed in there on this question. No, I don't care because I just don't think the Colts are still going to be that good. And I think it's for one reason. It's Andrew Luck. I don't necessarily think Andrew Luck's healthy. And if I had to do a 50-50 bet, I would say he doesn't play this season either, just based on what's happened with his shoulder. It's unfortunate. Andrew Luck is one of the biggest talents that we have in the NFL, and I just don't see this team really being good next year, and I don't see Frank Reich making a difference. I mean, he's not their first choice, clearly. Josh McDaniels was their first choice. McDaniels said, no, why would I go to the Colts situation where it's a terrible roster, terrible offensive line, and potentially an injured star quarterback with no other future guy in sight? So I understand why Josh McDaniels went there, but Frank Reich is just the second guy. I believe he was the Eagles' offensive coordinator. Correct?
Yes, he was
before this. So interesting enough, they actually wanted to hire the losing Super Bowl offensive coordinator. He said no, and they hired the Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. Interesting to see how that happens. But we still are kind of saying you're losing out on McDaniels. So no, I just don't care because I just think Andrew Luck's not going to play next season. I don't think Reich will make that much of a difference, and he wasn't the main call for head coach anyways. So not much bluster coming over from the Indy side. All right, Jared, last question. I know you're going to like this one. Jared, do you care that Jimmy Garoppolo has signed the largest deal ever in the NFL?
Yes. If you don't care about this and you're a football fan, you're nuts. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo appears to be, and the key word is appears to be, a very, very good quarterback. Obviously, he has spent his entire career up until halfway through last season with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and being able to study and learn from two of the best to ever do it. I get that he has showed a lot of promise winning the last 5 games of the season with the San Francisco 49ers. And listen, I think he has the chance, and I think he can be a great and an elite quarterback. But to only have 7 career starts under your belt, and to now, as of today, Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, be considered the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Like, he makes more money, will make more money than Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, all who have won Super Bowls. And this guy has only started 7 games in his career. I think that's a little ridiculous. Now, you look at the 5-year, $137 million contract, and obviously he probably won't get all of that money. What you really have to look at is the guaranteed portion. He is guaranteed, no matter what happens, whether he tears his ACL tomorrow and doesn't play another game in his career, he's guaranteed $48.7 million. That is a lot of change for a guy who's only started 7 career games. Now, like I said, he's a good player. I think he can be great. He showed a lot of promise. The 49ers are obviously, they're putting not only a lot of money, but a lot of faith in this guy, because with the other free agent quarterbacks that are out there, with the Kirk Cousins and the Case Keenums, and then not to mention the guys coming in through the draft this year, that you're basically saying, all right, like, if this Jimmy G contract doesn't work out, I think you're going to look back and say they made a huge mistake, because there were so many other routes and other opportunities that they could have pursued without giving up this much money. But hey, listen, they obviously saw enough in those 5 games that he won at the end of the year, and John Lynch and head coach Shanahan, they've said that this was a joint decision, and they're going to go with it. So I don't necessarily agree with it. I think you need at least a couple seasons of work, full work, to for it to be worth giving a guy that kind of money. But yeah, I'm still kind of stumbled and just.
Well, Jerry, you know what happened, right? The Mike Conley effect happened to the NFL.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you remember Mike Conley was the highest paid player. Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to still be the highest paid player after, let's say, a year or 2. Kirk Cousins will probably get paid more money than he just did.
Yeah, no, it's
this offseason. So
you know what this really does? This isn't even about Jimmy Garoppolo anymore. This is about all the other quarterbacks that are coming up on their contract.
That's true.
This is about Aaron Rodgers. This is about.
They should be happy.
No, seriously, this is about Russell Wilson, because those guys are proven winners, proven Super Bowl winners. So if Jimmy Garoppolo with 7 starts can get $137 million, what do you think Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson have, who've won Super Bowls?
$1 billion.
No, seriously,
that's literally what they deserve.
It is what they deserve. And if I'm like, but here's the thing though, like, do you be greedy and just take all that money, or do you pull a Tom Brady and say, hey, listen, I still want to get paid. I still want to be in the ballpark of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, but I don't want to take up all of our money to where our salary cap is screwed and we don't have money to go out and get other players.
Yep.
That's why Tom Brady is so good, because he's not just going to sit here and take everything. He wants the money to be spread around so we can have other great stars and athletes to throw the ball to help him win. So I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson would just take the whole bank and leave everyone dry, but I think it's something that you have to look at, because now everyone piggybacks off of each contract that comes in. So listen, I mean, I guarantee you Russell Wilson's agent, Aaron Rodgers' agent, Kirk Cousins' agent, they're all smiling with dollar signs in their eyes right now, because they know that their guys are about to get paid.
Oh, absolutely. All right, that's it for Do You Care? We're going to be back in our next segment, and the fun is going to continue, at least for me. I know Jared doesn't necessarily want to get too into this next topic. But LaVar Ball is speaking up again. And we have to talk about it because he might affect the Lakers in the near future. So we'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast.
If I'm the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm thinking about moving Lonzo Ball. Not this season, of course. But if this young man don't learn to step up and handle his business and do whatever he can to distance himself from his daddy's comments publicly, I'm going to have to sit up there and think about getting him the hell up out of Los Angeles, California.
The one guy I think needs to change his approach now is Magic Johnson. I've said in the past that I think Lonzo is the only person who can get his dad to tone it down and stop. But now there's a door that's been opened because LaVar issued an ultimatum. Sign Jello and Melo, my other two sons, or Lonzo is out of there. You gave the ultimatum. I was going to back off if I'm Magic. But now I have to step to you because you're messing with our team, literally. It's not just talking about the coach now, talking about the players, talking about Lonzo should be coached differently. Now you're talking about the makeup of my team.
Which is Magic's job.
Exactly. So now Magic needs to step to LaVar and issue his own ultimatum.
Cover 2 podcast live on OC Rock Radio for our final segment of the show. And if you listened
Jared,
to
so
Nick's previous statements, yes, you can tell my voice, before we ended the last segment, yes, he was not lying. We will be talking about the one and only LaVar Ball. I can't believe, once again,
what a guy.
He has said something that is just so stupid that we have to talk about it. Like, I mean, most of the things that he says now, it just goes in one ear and out the other. But this latest comment I think it's a new high for Mr. Ball. So I'm going to let you kind of describe and talk about it because my blood is already boiling.
I want you to explode in the first minute.
No, I'm going to save myself.
Okay, yeah. So the explode meter on Jared, by the way, for this segment is going to be outsider. No, I'm just kidding. But no, so LaVar Ball, like you said, says a lot of dumbass things, okay? And he went a little too far this time. And what he said was that some reporter asked him, hey, what are you going to do? Do you still stick to your thing about having all three brothers play on the same team? LaVar said yes. And the guy said, well, what's your plan? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to be feasible, especially if there's necessarily stars on the Lakers that join the team, that all three of them will be able to play, and plus Jello sucks. Okay? So Jello, nobody's going to want Jello. And so what LaVar said was, well, I'm going to go to the team, my three boys are going to go to the team that wants all three of us. And if that means the Lonzo opting out of his contract and not re-signing with the Lakers, then so be it. So what LaVar's saying is that he's going to force Lonzo Ball to leave the Lakers if the Lakers don't take LaMelo Ball and LiAngelo Ball as well on their team. And what I have a problem with this is, I have a ton of problems with this, but my main thing is that I think he might be telling the truth. And I think he might actually do that. And that is a big concern for the Lakers when they're trying to get, we just talked about in the first segment, LeBron James, Paul George. This is just another reason why LeBron's not going to come to LA. Why does he want to deal with LaVar Ball if he doesn't have to? Jared, do you know where he doesn't have to deal with LaVar Ball? Houston, Oakland, Cleveland, Detroit, the Bahamas. Doesn't matter where he goes. Okay? As long as he doesn't go to Lithuania or the Lakers, he doesn't have to deal with LaVar Ball. So this is a big problem for the Lakers, and I think it's finally time for Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka and Lonzo himself to step up to his dad, to step up to LaVar Ball and say, hey, you need to back off a little bit because now you're going to be affecting this team in a more negative way than you already were. Jared, your take.
This, to me, I don't really care what LaVar Ball says anymore. I understand that this is the reason why we're talking about this topic.
Yeah.
This is now falling on Lonzo's shoulders because it's one thing to come out and say, my boy, he could be playing right now if it was the playoffs, or he should be starting, or the Lakers suck, or whatever he wants to say. But if I was Lonzo, at some point, you got to grow up and be a man. You know what I mean? No, I'm serious. Like, grow up and be a man, dude. Like, I understand that your dad. You have respect for your dad. You're not trying to disrespect him. But you shouldn't be letting your dad disrespect you either, because what your dad is saying right now that, oh, well, you know, if the Lakers don't get my 2 other boys, then Lonzo's going to leave. That's disrespect to Lonzo, because that's saying that Lonzo doesn't have any control over his own life or his own destiny of what he wants to do or where he wants to play, right? Like, what if the Lakers in a year or 2 win the championship? Now, I'm not saying they're going to, but like, what if, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Lonzo's going to leave the Lakers after they win a championship just to appease his dad? I don't think so. Like, or what if, you know, he starts to build a bond and the Lakers team is doing really well and they're kind of on the up and up and, you know, they're playing well. They get LeBron James or they get another superstar and maybe they don't win the championship, but they're a good team. It's kind of like, hello, and you're just going to pick up and leave just because your dad says so, because he can't get your 2 brothers on the team? So it's like, for me, this comes down to Lonzo. Like, Lonzo needs to just say, Dad, listen, like, it's one thing for you to go in the media and talk and kind of, you know, build more hype for yourself and that type of thing. But to say that I'm going to leave just because, you know, the Lakers can't get my 2 brothers, your 2 sons to come play with me, that's just wrong. It's stupid. It's idiotic. If I'm the Lakers, and I've already heard this by multiple different journalists and reporters, that they think the Lakers should consider trading Lonzo.
God, that's such a crazy thing to do.
I know, right? But but it's like, listen, if the Lakers organization and brass comes to find out that Lonzo is a part of this or he's okay with this, I'm trading Lonzo today. Because if Lonzo really doesn't want to be here, or if he's okay with you know, just listening to his dad and letting his dad be his own voice, then if I'm the Lakers, I don't want that distraction around my locker room anymore. Like, if Lonzo wants to stand up, be a man, say that he wants to be with this Lakers organization, he wants to help them build and win championships, then I'm totally cool with that. Then I think you can deal with the distraction of LaVar Ball. But if Lonzo is on board with his dad and he's just kind of skating by, going by the motions, and not really saying anything, then if I'm me, I want to get rid of Lonzo. I don't want that distraction. I don't want him with our team, because at the end of the day, when his contract's up, he's just going to get up and leave. So I want to get something in return for him. So it comes down to, you know, what does Lonzo really want? I think people need to put a microphone in Lonzo's face. And I know Lonzo is not really a big talker. He's more of a quiet, kind of keep to himself guy. But I think he really needs to come out and nip this in the bud and just say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm kind of with my dad and I want to play with my brothers. Or, hey, I want to make my own decisions and I want to see where things go. Yeah. It's one of the two for me. There's no more gray area. There's no more in between. It's amazing.
Jared, guess what? Brandon Ingram's playing a pretty good point guard lately for the Lakers.
Yeah, he is.
Doesn't look like they necessarily need Lonzo 100% of the point guard anymore. So this is probably the worst time for all of this to happen for Lonzo Ball. He's injured. The Lakers are playing really good without him. Brandon Ingram is playing really good at his position. Lonzo Ball literally has no leverage here unless he does what you're saying, and that is talk back to his dad, tell his dad to back up, or just tell us the truth. Because if he does want to play with his brothers, which is a stupid thing to do, okay? You're a professional, you're an adult. Why do you have to play with your brothers? You haven't played with them for the last 2 years of your life. You clearly have had success without them. He's had a good year with the Lakers this year. Great year last year at UCLA, leading them to the Sweet 16. So you don't need to play with your brothers. I don't want to hear that. But if he does want to play with his brothers, fine. But you got to let the Lakers know, because the Lakers ain't signing LiAngelo Ball. LaMelo Ball might be a good player. Selfish. He's a selfish player with an attitude. But you can deal with that if he's a really good player. And LaVar has also said in the past that he believes LaMelo is the best out of the three. And I think that could happen as well. Because LaMelo has had training under his brothers, and a lot of times the younger brother ends up being better at sports. My brother is better than me at some sports, not all of them. But so I could see LaMelo being the best. But nobody's signing LiAngelo Ball, and I will say this every single week. Nobody is signing LiAngelo Ball. He's not a good NBA player. He's a good high school player. He's probably a good college player, and he's obviously a good Lithuanian player for D2 and all that stuff. But the Lakers are not going to sign that dude, and that's why Lonzo, I agree with you, he needs to tell the Lakers what is going on, is if he wants to stay, man up. Talk to your dad. But if not, hey, whatever. Lakers will trade you. They'll get a first-round draft pick for you, and they'll have the distraction will be gone, and then LeBron will come to LA. Right?
Oh, so then you think LeBron would come?
No, I think there's like a 10% better chance he comes, because one of the reasons I think he's not LeBron's not coming to LA is because of LaVar Ball. I legitimately think that's a reason. Why, if they let LaVar, they already let him backstage and stuff like that, and he's already sitting in the first row every game. They don't let him get interviewed at Staples Center anymore. But why would LeBron want to even walk past that dude after every single game? Why would Paul George want to walk past that dude? I mean, Paul George is like, oh, I really want to play in LA. I want to play for my hometown. He used to live in Palmdale. But do you want to play for LaVar Ball's Los Angeles Lakers? Or do you want to just play for the Lakers? Right? Because right now, it's LaVar Ball's Lakers. Because Magic hasn't spoken up either. Pelinka hasn't said much. Luke Walton has warded off all of it, and there's nothing much he could do. But he continually says, I'm not listening to what a parent of one of my players says, which makes sense. You don't do that in Little League, so why would you do that in the NBA? So Luke Walton's the only one stepping up to the plate here. And I think that in the next three, I'm not just going to keep it on Lonzo like you. I think Magic and Pelinka need to say something too. Possibly Jeannie Buss as well. But this is a crazy situation, man. It's going to ward LeBron off 100%. Paul George might not come. No free agents are going to come. Why would Kawhi Leonard want to come to this situation either? Klay Thompson.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very interesting. And once again, people are putting the microphone in LaVar Ball's face and giving him an opportunity to express his mind and give his absurd opinions, which once again are very, very absurd and just ridiculous. So I get the passion that he has for his boys and you know, obviously wanting the best for them. That I totally understand and I totally agree with. And listen, the issue that I've had and always had with LaVar Ball has never been about you know, him being an actual dad or a father, or you know, what he's trying to do for his sons. Like that, I would assume and hope that every parent and every dad would only want the best for their sons and then their kids, right? But there's also a way to go about it. And like I said in my opening statements, I feel that he is just somewhat disrespecting his kids by not letting them have their own voice. And like I said, it's one thing to have an opinion, and of course, yeah, that like, would it be great for him to have all three of his sons play for the Lakers, the first-class organization that is right up there with most championships in NBA history as far as teams go? Of course, but is that what all three of the sons really want? You know, maybe they do, and that's cool.
But they're not going to speak up, especially the younger ones.
And they're not. Yeah. But guess what? Like, it's okay if they're not. Like, what? So you're telling me that if, you know, Lonzo was with the Lakers and LiAngelo went to the Kings and LaMelo was with the Pelicans. I'm throwing it like random. Like, you're telling me if all three of his sons were in the NBA, he wouldn't be happy? Like, just because they're not all with one team, he's going to flip out and take his kids away?
He's not going to be happy because it's not what he said. And he, so far, to be honest, everything he said has kind of become true. You know, he said Lonzo would be in the NBA. He said he would play for the Lakers. He's playing for the Lakers. Okay? He said other stuff that I can't think of off the top of my head. I thought I knew other stuff, but I don't know.
No, I mean, he said that he was going to take his boys and pull them out and put them in Lithuania, exactly. And he did that. And I'm sure that was...
And they're succeeding in Lithuania. Well, somewhat. They're very popular in Lithuania. I don't know how well they're playing, but they're
popular now.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously.
Right, because of the big baller brand and the big baller tournament.
Head coach
LaVar Ball. Get out of here. Yeah. Are we done talking about this yet?
I think so. Well, let's transition to this, okay? So we'll keep talking about Lonzo for a little bit.
Okay, Lonzo, that's fine.
Lonzo, it's fine.
That's fine.
So he is injured. And I don't think we actually dove into this in the first segment. So let's dive into this next one. How do you think Isaiah Thomas being on the team is going to affect Lonzo? Do you think this is a negative or a positive thing as far as Lonzo, he's not going to get as much playing time at the point guard anymore?
Oh, yeah, he will.
You think he's still well? You think he'll still start? Just give me your thought. Give me your thoughts on Isaiah.
Okay, so listen, from an offensive standpoint, I think Isaiah Thomas can show Lonzo a lot of things as far as playing off the ball when you do have the ball. Because listen, Lonzo, especially with the way that he shoots the ball, his kind of very awkward, unorthodox shot, he can't just sit up and face up against a defender and think he's going to get a shot off against a 7-footer. Now, Isaiah Thomas obviously isn't great at just shooting over people either, but the way that he creates space with his body, the way that he kind of goes into opponents with his shoulder, and just it's little things, little nuances that he does offensively that I think Lonzo can benefit from. So from an offensive standpoint, yes, I think Isaiah Thomas can be there as somewhat of a mentor and a guy that can help Lonzo's game offensively. Defensively, zero. Isaiah Thomas is small to begin with. He doesn't play any defense, and he's a defensive liability for the team as a whole. As an actual player on the court, I'm not going to jeopardize Lonzo Ball's kind of learning on the fly in a sense, even though he's coming back from injury. His development, yeah. I'm not going to stop his development just to please Isaiah Thomas when Isaiah Thomas is more than likely not going to be on the Lakers team next year.
Yeah.
His contract expires at the end of the year, and I'm not saying the Lakers won't re-sign him, but Isaiah Thomas isn't going to want to come off the bench forever. Like, he's still, if he gets back to 100%, he should probably get an opportunity to start with a team. The Lakers, you invested your number 1 overall draft pick on Lonzo Ball. He still has the opportunity to be a great player. I'm not sure that he can be the number 1 overall pick like many expected him to be at the beginning of the year. But I think his upside right now is a lot greater than Isaiah Thomas's. And I think for the Lakers, if you put Lonzo Ball on the bench, or if you have Lonzo go to the 2 guard and have Isaiah Thomas be the actual point guard, I think you're only hurting Lonzo when there's a better chance of Lonzo being with his team long term. So find out who you want long term and go with that guy. I think that's Lonzo. So for Isaiah Thomas, the rest of the year, take your money, suck it up, come off the bench, contribute, do what you can, put on good film and good tape for other teams to look at. Because basically right now, I think you're auditioning for your future. You're auditioning for next year. So put on good tape, act like a good teammate, because in Cleveland, you didn't. You went behind guys' backs. You were talking behind guys' backs. So try to redeem yourself a little bit and show that you can be a good NBA teammate and you can get back to some form of the Boston Celtics Isaiah Thomas that made you a star.
Yeah, 2 things need to happen to have a successful year for Lonzo for the rest of the year. 1, needs to remain healthy. Lonzo needs to remain healthy for the rest of the season after he's off this injury. I don't want to see him go and get injured again and miss more games. Okay, his development can't afford that. A lot of people are already skeptical of him, and so he doesn't need that. And number 2, Isaiah Thomas does not need to bitch about playing time either. And there's a simple answer to what they should do. And I think you brought this up a little bit. The starting lineup for the Lakers should be Lonzo Ball at point when he comes back, Isaiah at the 2, Ingram at the 3, Randall at the 4, and Lopez at the 5. It's that simple. Is there anybody else you could insert into the lineup that would go in and make it so that those 2 guards couldn't play with each other?
Kuzma.
Does Kuzma start, though? I think Kuzma already comes off the bench.
Caldwell
Pope. Okay, so that's the one guy that would be kind of snubbed from this. I don't see that as being that big of a deal, though. I mean, Caldwell Pope went to jail for like a month already this season.
That doesn't mean he's not a good player.
No, but he's already on probation with
He's
the
a
Lakers.
solid offensive player. He's probably one of their... he's a very, very underrated offensive player for the Lakers.
But then so Isaiah needs to stay on the bench then.
In my opinion, yes. If I'm Luke Walton, I'm telling Isaiah Thomas, listen, I know you want to start. I know that you're a good player. You're still coming off injury. Right now, the best thing for the Lakers, because Luke Walton as the head coach needs to do the best thing for the team, not just for individual players. The best thing for the Lakers is for Isaiah Thomas to come off the bench. When Lonzo comes back, let him get back into the starting lineup. I would keep Caldwell Pope at the 2. I'm okay with Kuzma coming off the bench as well. You want to have Brandon Ingram at the 3, Julius Randle at the 4, and Lopez at the 5. That's fine. I'm cool with that. At the end of the day, I don't want to jeopardize any one of these young players' talents and their development just for Isaiah Thomas. Period. End of story. So to me, Caldwell Pope right now is a better player than Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, right now.
Well, Bizarre did say he was 80% too.
75-80%. That's not 100%, and that's nowhere near what he was, the level he was playing at with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it's true.
He's playing a shell of himself right now. Now, he came out and he had a good game in his opening game against the Mavericks. I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas. He scored like 22 points. He had a really good game. But he's still not 100%. Give him time to rest. Let him get his legs back. Listen, when he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, there was so many different types of pressure. There was the pressure of obviously playing with the Cavaliers and LeBron James and being in the immediate spotlight. There was the pressure of being Kyrie Irving's replacement and having to basically fulfill those responsibilities because Kyrie Irving already won a championship, and we all know that Kyrie Irving is an all-star, basically, all pro, right?
Absolutely.
So there's no pressure really with Isaiah coming to the Lakers. The Lakers are not that good of a team this year. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. So for him, it's like, what is, other than, I know that I'm saying he needs to go out there and put on good film and good tape for other teams, but he also needs to show that he's a good teammate and that he's willing to take direction.
Yeah.
Because if you are not willing to take direction, you want to sit here and headbutt your coach all day long. If I'm another team, if I'm one of the other 29 teams in the NBA, I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to sign this guy. That's not what I want. Because listen, it's not always about your production on the court. It's how you gel with players. It's how you gel with coaches. It's your type of attitude. Unless you're Michael Jordan, right? I don't think you get a pass. You don't get that type of pass. Not for Isaiah, and especially not being 80% in what he just did with the Cavaliers. So come off the bench. Be a good teammate. Stop your bitching, and if you're Luke Walton, take control of your team, man.
Yeah.
Put the guys out there. Develop your young stars, and get a couple stars this summer, and then contend next year in 2019.
Yeah, like I said, two things. Lonzo needs to stay healthy, and Isaiah Thomas needs to not complain and do his role. And whether that means he's starting at shooting guard, or whether it means he is coming off the bench, he needs to know his role. And shut his mouth, like some others have said in the past. Final thought time, Jared. And while I need to think, I had a final thought earlier today that I can't think of it right now, so I will let you go first and try to find my thought. If not, I do have something else to say, but what is your final thought to end the podcast?
My final thought is Mr. Johnny Manziel.
Interesting.
Back in the spotlight to some degree. He came out and he had an interview earlier this week, and he admitted that he is dealing with bipolar disorder. So I'm not sure if he was using that as an excuse for all of his drinking and drug problems and obviously the downfall.
Does bipolar have to do with going to a club every night?
But
necessarily?
Obviously that's a big issue, and it's something that needs to be taken seriously. So he says he's on the road to recovery. He's taking the necessary steps, dealing with a therapist and trying to not drink and all that stuff, and trying to live a clean and healthy life. So that was very interesting. And another interesting aspect that came out of that interview is he said he's going to participate in the Developmental Spring League.
Oh, I forgot about this thing.
Which is a very, very new league that the NFL is putting on, and it's basically something that I feel that the NFL should have done a long time ago. But it's a way for athletes and guys who don't make the original NFL rosters to continue to play, continue to stay in shape, and basically they don't have to do everything on their own. You don't have to train on your own. You can go and have things paid for and be with professional trainers and basically be able to put more tape out there for other NFL teams to see you. So I don't really think he will get another legitimate opportunity in the NFL. I'm sure there's going to be rumors that there's teams that are looking at him, and there's a possibility if a quarterback gets injured that maybe you bring Johnny Manziel in as an insurance policy. But I really think he's burned a lot of bridges with multiple teams, and unfortunately I don't see him getting back into the NFL. But I am happy that he's hopefully getting his life together, because that's the most important thing. The NFL is a very small aspect, and in sports it's a small aspect when talking about him. He needs to get his life in order. And in order, you're not going to be able to play football and focus on football and be the best athlete you can be until you have your life straightened out. So hopefully he's on the path to do that. And if he gets another opportunity in the NFL, good for him. I'm a big-time believer in second chances as long as people deserve it and do what is necessary to get there. But hopefully he can do that. And maybe a team will call one day. Who knows?
Most definitely. My final thought today, can't think of what I was thinking about earlier, so I'll bring this up again. Just happy to see that a lot of our Olympic athletes that are doing really well are so young. We were talking about it. The fact that we're going to have a lot of these athletes for the next 2 Olympics, potentially. People like Chloe Kim, who already won a gold medal, Red Gerard, and then 2 others, Maddie Mastro and Haley Langland. Actually, some of them are local, too.
I was going to say,
Langland's
the
from
local
aspect. Langland's from San Clemente, and Chloe Kim is from Lakewood. Over near Long Beach. So it's cool to have local stars that are super young and going to be in the limelight for a long time. So we're talking about those potential star athletes in the Olympics. Those are some of the names that I first think of, at least when I think of the Olympic athletes. That is it for the podcast. As you can hear, Enter Sandman now playing. Good podcast today, Jared. Excited that we got to put football in the show at one point.
Yes, we did.
And we got a lot of basketball, a lot of Laker talk, too, and some LaVar talk, which I know you
a lot of local talk.
Super mad.
I'm all about that.
Yes, so that's it for the podcast. We'll be back next week, probably talking Olympics and some more basketball. NBA All-Star Game coming up next weekend. Is that this weekend? That is this weekend, so we'll talk about the NBA All-Star Game. That's next weekend as well. So for Nick Neenan,
I'm Jared Smith.
And this has been the Cover 2 Podcast.